I work 60 hours a week. I have 2 children and a wife. I am very busy, but I spend the time doing this every day. On Wednesdays when we're out in the park or at Suburban Street Station talking to everyday people about this cause. Meeting at the Friends Center on the last Wednesday of the month, which we're going to be meeting on November 20th at 6 p.m. at the Friends Center at 1501 Arch Street. I ask you, I encourage you, I plead you to come out. I ask you to talk with more people about what we're doing here today and about what needs to be done to actually save our country. What needs to be done to actually be able to give our children a future. Because if corporations and those with deep pockets are influencing government and making everybody else be ignored, then the changes that we look for, the changes that will save us and that will save our children and make this country better will never happen. They will never happen. And we will be lost. We will be fighting a battle. Class warfare? You're damn right.
I just want to thank, first of all, my family for all the positive support, even though I'm pretty sure they think I'm going to end up in an insane asylum one day. I want to thank Shepard from Philly Root Strikers for all the support throughout the organizing, and also Diamond from March Against Monsanto. I want to thank all my friends that couldn't make it out and couldn't make it out for all the support they've been giving me throughout the march. I want to thank Paul, called Prince Truth Chaser.
Paul Wesley.
Wesley.
By the way, Fox News is not here today, but we have the real media today. The media that actually cares about change. So thank you. Thank everybody for being here today.
Sure.
Subscribe to the Channel of Truth.
Paul was the first person to publicly expose chemtrails. Both he and Christopher Monteiro came out today, not just in support, but to film and get our event in the vast world of the internet. You went all the way and came out to here. Everyone I mentioned, I couldn't really have done this without all of you. Since this is the first of its kind, I would like to clarify what and who we are. The March Against Corruption is an international campaign to raise awareness about the corrupting influences of money and special interest in governance and public policy making, to provide a forum for people to organize and speak out against corruption on the internet, and to inform the public about the consequences of corruption. The one question I come across all the time is, so what are you going to do about it and what's the solution? Our solution is not to wave a magic wand over the world and to end corruption or to abolish the government. But what our goal is to accomplish for now is to provide people an organizational group to discuss ideas and come together as a collective mind and discover a plan to fix this. I think the government can be fixed, and it's just broken if we have a will and a way. Eventually, I hope in time it will be. One of the most corrupting influences we have today in our society is that money has actually never had any value since 1933 when the gold seizure occurred. The whole monetary system has been set up to fail ever since its creation. The U.S. Mint does still create our money, but the Federal Reserve is the one who regulates and distributes it to the central banks. But the Mint doesn't just give it to the Federal Reserve. It loans it with interest. This being said, for example, if I was the Federal Reserve in metaphorical terms, let's say I wanted $10 billion, this means that I would actually owe $10.x billion back to the Mint, X being a variable of whatever the interest rate is at that time. That means that the only solution to this is slavery, as it is not just physically, but it's also mathematically impossible. There have been times in the past where great men tried to fight against corruption of central banking, and the two greatest names were President Lincoln and President Kennedy. President Lincoln tried to retaliate by creating the greenback, which was a sort of interest-free, debt-free currency, so he could fund the Civil War. And Kennedy tried to pass Executive Order 1110, which would not only put the Federal Reserve out of business, but order out silver certificates, which would be called United States notes instead of Federal Reserve notes, which is what they're called today, which is also interest-free money. Corruption is the reason why we have 3.5 million homeless men and 19.5 men and women and 19.5 million vacant homes in the U.S. It's the reason why we have to pay on a supposedly free planet. It is the reason why drones that we pay for are killing children in Pakistan and Syria. It's the reason why our country is now at 10% of our country is now at a radiation content of level 4 out of 5. For those of you that aren't aware, the Fukushima power plant that was hit by the hurricane almost 3 years ago has been leaking about 300 to 400 tons of radioactive groundwater per day. And within the last 2 weeks, it has hit the West Coast. Our planet is dying. Our soil is contaminated. Our food is genetically modified and killing people. Our water is poisoned with fluoride and radiation. Our air is poisoned with CO2 emissions and toxins from factories. Our minds are poisoned with the mainstream media and our failed education system.
Open your ears. Really closing your ears for it.
The people united will never be defeated. 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 Hey, I got a great chant. Here's another great chant. Give up liberty for security and you'll suffer from tyranny. Give up liberty for security and you'll suffer from tyranny. Give up liberty for security and you'll suffer from tyranny. Give up liberty for security and you'll suffer from tyranny. Give up liberty for security and you'll suffer from tyranny. Give up liberty for security and you'll suffer from tyranny. Give up liberty for security and you'll suffer from tyranny. Give up liberty for security and you'll suffer from tyranny. Give up liberty for security and you'll suffer from tyranny. Give up liberty for security and you'll suffer from tyranny. Give up liberty for security and you'll suffer from tyranny. Give up liberty for security and you'll suffer from tyranny. Give up liberty for security and you'll suffer from tyranny. Give up liberty for security and you'll suffer from tyranny. Give up liberty for security and you'll suffer from tyranny.
And the corrupting influence of money out of government. All right, march against corruption.
Learn about Citizens United and money in politics. The corrupting influence of money in our government is destroying the planet.
March against what's the tyranny that's upon us right now. Everybody, they're choosing money over people, and people it's out of government right now. It's to the highest bidder. Voting doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
Your politicians doesn't matter anymore. Petitions don't matter anymore. It's all pointless politics, and I'm done with it.
So does our vote count?
No. It's the greatest interest of the highest bidder.
So a lot of people, you have libertarians, Democrats, Republicans, everyone thinks that their vote counts. I think that politicians are selected, not elected. Now, are they select? I mean, what do you have to say to people who actually think their vote counts?
I say it's all separatism. We all need to come together as one whole people. Government does nothing but corrupt anymore. It's a big mafia.
It's a big mafia?
It's a mafia.
Money out of politics. You want to have the government be actually representative of the people.
Now, you think that's possible?
I don't know, but I want to try.
Now, the mainstream media obviously isn't out here. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there are a couple of reasons. One is because I think the mainstream media thinks it's essentially so hard that it's never going to happen, so why try?
Right.
And also because as a movement, we haven't gotten our voices loud enough to attract the attention of the mainstream media.
Do you think, I mean, honestly, even if we got our voices loud enough to attract mainstream media attention, that they would even care? Because it kind of seems like they work for the people that hold us down.
Yeah, I think they might care.
You think they might care?
But,
okay.
You know, it's I don't know.
You don't know?
I just don't know.
Thanks for coming out today.
Thank you.
It's hard not to reflect on the founding fathers and what they put together when they devised the Constitution. One of the things that they tried to do was to be able to overcome the corruption that power creates. They tried to set up a division of power in our government through the 3 separate branches, and they tried to be able. They had dealt with it so much with the English aristocracy, you know, giving position for favors and not being truly represented as a colony. And what they did is even in the Constitution, they set up a clause that says that other governments, other royalty and kingdoms could not give favors to people in Congress in an effort to avoid dependence on those foreign entities. Nowadays, we have a new aristocracy. We have new privileged population. Those that are wealthy, the top 1%, have the money to be able to influence our government just like those royals did at the time of the founding fathers. But what they didn't realize is that large corporations and the extremely wealthy would be a different entity besides those of royalty and of obviously of foreign governments. So what we need to do is be able to take the corrupting influence of money and the dependency that it creates on our politicians away. We need to be able to equalize the effects, the corrupting effects of the influence of money. And what we're trying to do as Philly Root Strikers is be able to talk with more people, give them an understanding of what the corrupting influence of money does. Because the reality is that it's the root cause of many of the problems that America is facing today. Whether you believe in stricter environmental regulation, financial regulation, improved education, ending of private prisons, whatever it may be, there's a moneyed influence, a deep pocket moneyed influence defeating that cause and those fighting it on the other end. So we don't think our cause is more important getting money out of politics. We just think it's the first issue that needs solving. So every other cause, every other group fighting a problem has a fighting chance. They can actually be able to create the positive change that this country needs. So as we stand here in front of Independence Mall, we have to think about what our founding fathers truly wanted for this country. A government for the people and the people alone. And with the corrupting influence of money having a stranglehold over our government, corporations and their bottom lines are what have true jurisdiction over our government. They influence every single hour of their day. And so what we need to do is take that money out, equalize its effects overall of our government so they can actually respond to the best ideas and the people that actually are supporting
right now. So, man, definitely one of the illest MCs in the city right now.
How do you feel about corruption in the government, my friend?
Man, I think that the people definitely got to take heed of what's going on themselves. The government is one piece, but obviously we outnumber anybody in any type of political position. The people, the government is really the people, quoting a great band by the name of Urban Shamans. The people have the power. That's what it is.
Now here's the thing, the mainstream media ain't out here today. The Illuminati's controlling everything. They're controlling our children, they're controlling our minds, they're controlling the money. What can we do to stop it?
Step up and take control of self. You know, it's one thing. Stop letting people manipulate what's supposed to do, what to buy, what to eat. The people have the power. So if all this information is being believed, it's up to you to tell your neighbors. It's up to you to get together with the people and make something happen. Do
Out here, take back the rich, what they steal from us all, right? What did the rich steal from us all?
They stole our country from us all.
Have they?
They stole our livelihoods. They stole our culture. They stole our government. They stole it all from us.
They stole it all from us.
You know, they only call it class war when we start to fight back.
When we start to fight back, what do you think?
I think that they are destroying our educational system.
Our educational system?
Yes, I do believe that. I
believe that?
It is. Yes, I do. It costs way too much for a middle-class family to send anybody to college.
Right.
And also, they are destroying our K-12 system.
Do you think college is a big scam? Like you spend all this money for college and they come out and there's no jobs, or what?
I think the scam is that it costs so much. I do believe that college is very important. I believe that everybody needs to be educated in our country, not just the.
Corruption, we all know it. You know, it permeates through our lives. People with disabilities are stuck away in nursing homes, are pushed away out of society to make sure our voices are not heard. People are benefiting from our lives, making us cash cows. Corporations are making sure that the government pay them to take care of us, to put us away in holes where we cannot be heard. That is not so today. We make sure that all our voices will be heard, that the corporations, that the banks, and that the government, sadly, because they don't want to hear those without money, will make sure they hear us. We make sure that they choose things that will benefit our lives and not just the few, the 1%. We are here today to make sure that they bow to us instead of us to them, as slaves that they think that we are going to be. Not so. The few of us around the country, the many of us around the world, will make sure soon that their voices are stopped. That our voices that are louder will come together and make sure that these corporations making our public People's Congress a corporate Congress, one that if you don't have money to pay a lobbyist will not hear you. Hear us. We have to take away that money, as has been said by Mark. We have to make sure that we love each other to make this happen. And as people, disabled, ethnic, American, white, whatever it is, come together. And as we are about to head to the federal bank, I don't know why it's called federal, it has nothing to do with the government, but that bank down there, and tell them that it is time that corruption ends. That the people's voice will be heard. And we will not be quiet. All right, let's do this.
The nation, big dollar, donations are corrupting.
The nation, big dollar, donations are corrupting. The nation, big dollar, donations are corrupting. The nation, big dollar, donations are corrupting. The nation's 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 big dollar 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 donations are corrupt.
Happening.
Right.
For hopefully this will create a spark in a lot of people to not accept what they've been given.
Right.
To fight for things that are worthwhile.
Okay.
And that is our future for our children and for ourselves.
You think today is going to make a difference? I mean, what do you want to see happen?
For me, a difference is just people who are walking by being impacted by what's being said, and the fact that there are people who are out here trying to push for change.
Know that the people care.
Right.
Letting the tourists know that across the street from the African American Museum that the people will speak and
Right.
will not be quiet ever again.
We'll never be quiet ever again. Again, I've been asking the magical question: where is the mainstream media?
The mainstream media is nowhere to be seen. They are owned by the corporations that we're here to fight against, and it is visible by
Right.
their non-showing that they don't care about the people's voices.
Do you think change is possible?
Change is possible.
What do you think it'll take to actually change this corrupt system that we live in?
The people need to unite. The voices need to be louder. And when the people realize that we are being oppressed by only a very small percent and that the majority have the power, change will come.
Let's go back in history a bit to 1907, the start of the creation of the Federal Reserve. The biggest financial luminaries back then were J.P. Morgan, J.D. Rockefeller, the Warburg family, and the Rothschilds. These men knew that the public would be weary about establishing another central bank, as these banks were created and destroyed all throughout history, so they had to create an incident. J.P. Morgan created false rumors to the public that all the banks in New York were going solvent. The public then began mass withdrawal, and the banks were consequently forced to call on all their loans, causing people to sell their property, which in turn spawned endless bankruptcies and repossessions. A congressional investigation was held by Nelson Aldrich, who had intimate ties to the financial powers and then becoming part of the family through marriage. His commission recommended creating a central bank so a panic like 1907 would never happen again. In 1910, a meeting was held at a J.P. Morgan estate on Jekyll Island, which is off the coast of Georgia, where all the banking powers developed the Federal Reserve Act, which was written by bankers, not lawmakers. The bankers pushed their bill to their political frontman, Nelson Aldrich, to push through Congress. In 1913, with heavy political sponsorship by bankers, Woodrow Wilson would become president, having already agreed to sign the Federal Reserve Act in exchange for campaign support thus creating the Federal Reserve. In 1921, the broker call loan was created. This loan means that someone can put 10% down on a stock for 100% of its control, and the broker would pay the rest. The catch is that the full price of the loan could be cloned at any time and had to be paid within 24 hours. Then, on October 29, 1929, all the major bankers quietly exited the market, and then the brokers started calling these loans en masse. This collapsed smaller banks, which let bigger banks buy them at a discount. Rather than expanding the money supply, the Fed contracted it, and thus creating the Great Depression of 1929. This is just one example of corruption in our history, but I feel as though it might be our greatest.
All right, and casino capitalism. Join me. End the Fed. 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 End the Fed.
End the Fed. End the Fed.
All right, thank you. Now we're going to be hearing from Sean, who's with Decarcerate PA.
Hey, how y'all doing? So, my name is Sean, and I work with an organization called Decarcerate PA. We're a coalition of organizations and individuals working to end mass incarceration here in Pennsylvania. Right behind me, this is a monument to mass incarceration. This is the Federal Detention Center. This has a capacity of 1,000 souls to be held in here, human beings to be held in cages. Okay, and I'm going to level with you a little bit. Mass incarceration, which what I'm talking about is in the last 3 decades, we've seen the prison population in the U.S. quadruple. It didn't start with money in politics or just corruption. It started when politicians decided to make careers off of appealing to people's weaker instincts, their fear of others, their assurances by politicians that if they got tough on crime and brought the hammer down, that everything would be okay and no violence would happen. And of course, by using racism and appealing to people's racist instincts, there are so many more people of color in prison because of that, because of these policies.
Here we go. Corruption has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Corruption has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Corruption has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Corruption has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Corruption has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Corruption has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Corruption has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Corruption.
I mean, what do you think about that? You want to end corruption in the world?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you start talking about corruption, I think goal number one and objective number one is getting money out of politics.
Okay.
To me, you know, one of the forerunners in that movement is MoveToAmend.org.
Okay.
A great organization that's working to overturn Citizens United and trying to reclaim the right that is soulfully ours, which is the right to be a person, to be and all the rights that come with it. We have clear corruption at this point, in a sense that they've obtained via legal fiction the same equal footing as human beings, and that's just beyond wrong and obviously just like I said, a legal fiction. So we know that that's just a falsehood, and when you're dealing with such clear falsehoods, then those can solidify into prime objectives for us to focus on and figure out how to obtain the rest of our goals. We're at a point where society is broken in so many different aspects, from predatory loaning to the NSA spying and the KGB state that has risen in our country. That we have to figure out how to unify all of these different issues that we have together as one thing. And I think the way to do that is to start some sincerity back in politics, which is to end the corporate stranglehold on those politics. And so that's really, for me, one of the main number ones. And then then you can start to address poverty. You can start to address the drug war. You can start to address global warmongering. You can start to address the police state. You can start to address the NSA spy state. You can start to address all these other problems. But as long as the people in power who are making the decisions are being bought and sold,
right, their souls are being bought and sold.
Right, absolutely, without any regard for what is right or wrong.
Right.
Making decisions not on behalf of the people, but on behalf of their
pockets.
Right, and when I say their constituents, I don't mean the people that live inside their districts, but I'm talking about the people that this handshake happens on.
Right.
We're going to be dealing with fuckery, and that's really where we're at. And Americans have to start realizing that middle class that they've been striving toward, that is disappearing as the gap widens between the rich and the poor, as that wealth consolidates with them, and the poverty that I maybe personally have known my whole life, that maybe some people haven't known. There's a reason that a large portion of Occupy guys and girls were middle class white students, because they were given a dream that they believed they were going to be able to achieve, and they got out of college and realized that was never going to happen. You have to figure out some way to get back to a fundamental understanding about who we are as people.
Mentally, not only physically.
Spiritually.
Exactly.
All the way around.
Now, a lot of people think that this is a spiritual war against humanity. I mean, they're poisoning our food, they're poisoning our air, they're poisoning our minds mentally. A lot of people may say, well, the elitists, they want total control and they want a total slave civilization. How do you feel about that?
I think that there's some relevance to that. I think the thing about it is you just have to look at the examples of that and sort of stay focused and not allow yourself to get too crazy with some of the ideas. Do I think there's an Illuminati that, does secret handshakes? Yeah, probably, but I don't think those are the guys that really have power. I think, it's the things like the Federal Reserve, where you get 16 bank chairmen who all get together and decide this is how the money should be regulated based off of...
but it's the offshore, Rothschilds and Bilderbergers and all. If they all control the money, then they control the power. So,
absolutely.
The question is
Bloomberg has his own army. That's right. We know.
I mean, if we look at the fact that Homeland Security ordered over 5 million, in ammo, are they ready for a revolution? Or they're ready for this? It seems.
I think. The reality for me is I have to take at
one step at a time, maybe.
I just have to be realistic about where we are in the transition from indentured servitude, which is what the economic system predicts and puts us in, to freedom and liberation. And I think I've never been one for brutality against brutality. I've always felt like as people, creativity is our best option in order to overcome. We can win a war of ideas. We can win a war of brilliance. We probably can't win a militarized conflict.
A lot of people think that a lot of people are angry in the world. A lot of people want a violent uprising. Me, myself, I do a lot of work on love vibration. I do a lot of work on total non-compliance and a peaceful revolution if it was to happen. Do you think that a peaceful revolution would work? Or do you think
I believe, like I said, we're at a point where they have drones. They kill heavily armed people in other parts of the world.
Yes.
With no regard as they sit in a bunker and press a button. Soldiers will kill upwards of 1,600 individual human beings from the safety of never actually seeing conflict. That's a problem. Can we overcome that? I don't think the Second Amendment or all the bullets in the world is going to overcome that. We're now seeing bullets that can go through metal and still continue to go for 3-4 meters. That's an issue that we have to actually address and be realistic about. I think that creativity and winning the war of ideas and changing the culture of apathy that exists inside of our situation is really what we have to do. We have to, I have children. I have to raise my children to care about the next human being, to not see them as something separate from them. And unfortunately for us, we see a child dying in Pakistan and we are disconnected and it's too abstract for us. We don't understand that that person is still a child. That person is still a human being. And
can one person make a difference?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen it throughout history where one person can make a difference, but not solely by themselves. They have to have the ability
to collectively open up other minds.
And we've seen it from Bob Marley and Gandhi, even though Gandhi's history is very dicey. But we've seen it throughout history where certain people have the ability for them to connect with other people and relay the complexity of what we are going through in simple terms. It was one of the largest knocks against Occupy that we had was, well, what are your objectives? You don't have one thing you're focused on. No, that was bullshit. I always relayed the metaphor that I think is vastly important to how I understood it, which is it is like an apartment complex. It's like apartment A has a broken toilet, apartment B has a broken windowsill, apartment C has a broken stove, But in reality, we're all living in this building that is substandard, and we've asked our landlord over and over again, how can we fix these problems? We want, fine, you are a lazy landlord, we'll take care of it ourselves, and instead of, allowing us to reimburse us maybe for the materials or whatever, they've locked the doors and said, screw you, you just have to deal with the problems.
Right.
It's unfair to look at this because this isn't like desegregation or a more simplified matter that had one objective. That's why we focus on getting money out of politics as one of our primary objectives, because I do feel like that is paramount to getting to access to all the other issues that we have. But we are in a very complex society where the problems are vast and many. And if we can stay unified on our sentiment of discontent, and we can continue to build upon the fact that have that empathy for each other and see that my struggle may not be your struggle, and that your struggle may not be my struggle.
But individually, energy-wise, whether you do your thing or I do my thing, it all comes together in the end in a positive vibration.
Right, exactly. The fact that we are all feeling this same...
You may fix one toilet, I may fix the other in another building, but in the end...
But in the end, the energy is the same, which is us all feeling like we've been misplaced from our ability to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and the things that, if you study history, it can become a little murky, but the point is, we do as human beings, I think, and that goes beyond our own country. Is something that as human beings is something that we should all strive towards. If you have children, you understand the basic nature of wanting your children to just have a existence that is rightful to their existence of being here. And I think we've lost sight of that, and America in particular is a very individualist country, and we don't understand that that child that dies in Pakistan is still a little child.
Yes.
And we have to figure out how to get that empathy back. If we can do that, we're on the right path.
Thank you so much, my friend, I love you.
I love you too, brother.
United will never be defeated. People united will never be defeated. People united will never be defeated. The 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 people united will never be defeated.
We're talking about Decarcerate PA. I was locked up for 8 years because I was a farmer. I grew marijuana. Here's the unfortunate thing. I happened to get locked up while I was suffering from an addiction called alcoholism. I stayed incarcerated on and off for 11 years because alcoholics have a trouble stopping drinking. They kept me in jail for 11 years of my life because they didn't fix my problem, which is I'm an alcoholic. They never got me treatment. I finally got out of that fucking system because they allowed me to get treatment, and guess what? I'm now an organizer, fighting the same scumbag system that kept me locked up. Awesome. So let's talk about the extraction that's happening to your bank accounts right now. In case you don't know it, please take your money out of a bank. I have money in the stock market right now because I'm watching it be extracted from all the time I spent buying that stock. The monetary system is about to collapse. If it doesn't happen this year, if it doesn't happen next year, it's going to happen globally. All the money that you put into your 401k is going to evaporate in a moment. Do not keep your money in 401ks. This government, this world is corrupt. You will be taken. You should learn how to farm. You should learn how to save seeds. You should learn how to find clean water. You should learn how to help your neighbor. You should learn how to be tolerant with everyone. Every single human being on this planet is suffering from something that you know nothing about.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So fuck Monsanto. Let's march against corruption.
Corrupting influence of money in politics. Corrupting influence of money in politics. What's the biggest problem? Right.
I just think that the world is suffering and that everything is going wrong in the world.
Pretty much.
What do we need to change what's going on?
You need to peel the wool off of your eyes. You need to do some research.
All right, everybody. There's so many people right now that are going to watch this. They're going to say, what can we do individually, collectively? Diamond, what can we do individually, collectively?
You can be the change you want to see.
I think today is just a step towards step of many steps that need to be taken. This is not a flash in the pan battle. This is a long effort. We have an insurmountable amount of opposition to what we're doing, both with the people that need to actually create change as well as those that obviously benefit from the system as it stands. So we're hoping just to be able to grab more people, get them an understanding and education about the corrupting influence of money over government and how it affects their lives, the lives of everyday Americans every day. I mean, we literally can't create positive change in this country until we actually are listened to. And you can't get listened to unless we take the money out of influence.
So it's a little odd that the mainstream media isn't out here today, huh?
Well, they benefit greatly from campaign financing. They reap rewards. Their revenue is generated, pretty much with a matter of campaign time frames. They get tons of campaign money.
So is this going to be the only march, or do you have you want to continue this?
No, we'll just go through actions. We'll reach out to the people every Wednesday. We're usually down now that the winter's coming. We'll probably be down in Suburban Station talking with people every Wednesday and meeting at the end of the month.
Websites, links, what do you have?
Yeah, you can either go to Philly or at Facebook, Philly Root Strikers at Facebook, or you could go to rootstrikers.org or marchagainstcorruption.com.
Excellent.
The people united will never be defeated.
The people united will never be defeated. The people united will
never be defeated.
The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated.
You gotta learn how to run backwards.
Will never be defeated. The people united 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 will never be defeated.
I kind of think it's like a slavery thing. I think that what they do is through a young age, they kind of take our youth and say, well, this is how it should be, this is this, and they kind of set us up for failure mentally, so that way I mean, if you look at the Super Bowl, people who are in the sports, the masses who are asleep, when they actually look, they had the Budweiser commercials, they had the fucking this commercial, that commercial. I mean, I think mentally they're mind fucking us, so that way they're setting us up for failure to put us in this prison reality, and I think that's what it is.
That's a good way to look at it. That's an interpretation.
Okay.
There's lots of conspiracy theories. There's
Absolutely,
levels and layers.
Right.
I think that what's happening is it's the system at the core has been shifted so drastically that the system is broken. So that when we look at each single issue involved in the system, we can create a conspiracy theory to explain it, when the reality is the corruption at every single tiny level added together looks like a conspiracy theory. Because if you're corrupt at every level, there has to be a major plan, right? That's the way we think. But I don't really think that there's a major plan in effect here, a major conspiracy theory. I think that corruption at every level makes it appear as if this must be
so
a charade.
if there's 10 levels of corruption, whether it be Monsanto, whether it be fluoride in the water, whether it be... So it's just not... You don't believe that it's one big gang. It's just a step-by-step corruption level. And we have to literally break it down.
Yeah, and like all issues, like I'm starting this urban farming initiative. The reason
that's really good.
Community gardens are failures is because the model's wrong. It's a top-down model. The rich people go into poor communities, throw a garden in, and invite people there. They don't want to come. It's a handout. It's bullshit. Where you go into that community and talk to the people first, and then ask them what they want to do. They help you make whatever they want. It doesn't have to be a garden. Guess what it usually is? Because they're hungry people. It's a fucking garden.
Right.
So no brainer. If you do the same thing from the ground up, it's successful. So if we change corruption from the ground up, I think that the major conspiracy theory idea will go away because it won't exist.
But in return, the corruption will go away too.
That's what we have to fix.
It's about the corrupting influence of money over our government. A lot of people don't understand this concept. Even though a lot of people believe that money buys results in Congress, they don't understand how pervasive it is, how it prevents a lot of the solutions out there from actually coming and infecting all of us. We need to create positive change, but we're stymied at every end by deep pockets and a drive for bottom lines. We've been going at this in Philadelphia for almost 2 years now, talking with people, doing events like this and others, asking people to get out there and talk with more. This is not an easy battle. I work 60 hours a week. I have 2 children and a wife. I am very busy, but I spend the time doing this every day on Wednesdays when we're out in the park or at Suburban Street Station talking to everyday people about this cause. Meeting at the Friends Center on the last Wednesday of the month, which we're going to be meeting on November 20th at 6 p.m. at the Friends Center at 1501 Arch Street. I ask you, I encourage you, I plead you to come out. I ask you to talk with more people about what we're doing here today and about what needs to be done to actually save our country. What needs to be done to actually be able to give our children a future. Because if corporations and those with deep pockets are influencing government and making everybody else be ignored, then the changes that we look for, the changes that will save us and that will save our children and make this country better will never happen. They will never happen. And we will be lost. We will be fighting a battle. Class warfare? You're damn right. Because they will have influence over government and we will be ignored.
Keep it going.
So I'm asking you, every single person out here needs to talk to 1, 2, 5, 20 people. Bring them out for this cause. Explain that our cause is their cause. Because even though you may believe in something passionately, more passionately than in something else, whether it be financial regulation, whether it be smaller government, whether it be a better education, or environmental regulation, whatever it is, there's a financial interest defeating your cause on the other end. We must work together because this issue is not more important than your issue. It's just the first issue that needs solved. It's the first one that needs done, so we all have a chance. Thank you. Join me and join Root Strikers. RootStrikers.org, Philly Root Strikers on Facebook. Thank you very much.
But the question is, do you have the passion? Yeah. Do you have the drive, Tommy? What do you think?
I think you have to be the change you want to see. So wake the fuck up, America.